This album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling from that called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter.
Yeah.
And to all my peoples in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby.
Check it.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Marley Marl. I let my tape rock till my tape pop.
9 to noon at 10:05 is a Maxwell Fuller production. Kirk Cousins has a press conference 25 minutes from now, and we will be carrying that and getting the thoughts of Kirk Cousins off the first joint practice against Tennessee. But first, Ben Leber, at Nacho Leber via Twitter. Twin Cities Live is where you will be watching today from 3 to 4:30 on Channel 5. And, of course, he's a sideline analyst for the Vikings Radio Network, including Saturday night at 7 versus Tennessee. And speaking of preseason sideline analysis, and first of all, Mr. Nacho Leber, good morning.
Good morning.
Speaking of sideline analysis and JJ interview, terrific, and the things that you generally do on the sideline during preseason games, tell me what you think of this. Given the proximity of where you are on the sideline, and you got those nice field suites that are kind of all around you. What about jumping in a suite in the second half of the Titans game and chatting with Rube Nation and stuff like that? What do you think?
I'm totally down for that.
Why not, right?
Well,
I'd call half the game from a suite if they could figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that's the truth. So, a little inside the locker room talk here. We've put some requests out for some players to do some interviews. We've had a lot of players decline. They do not want to do on-camera preseason interviews.
What do they think you're Peyton Manning with Omaha Productions trying to do a new Netflix docuseries?
I don't know if I should take it personal or if they just don't want to do the interview. I know a lot of guys just don't like to do media. So anyway, I am looking for one more interview to secure for the game.
Sweet.
And that would give us the fourth. But if I can't, I think that your idea is perfect.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And low key and it's I don't even know how many people are going to be in those suites in the second half of the Titans game, but I think that would be kind of cool for Ben Leber, who will be on the sideline for this game against Tennessee. Now, joint practices, you're quite familiar with them. And I'm curious to see a few facets today with the Minnesota Vikings and how it works out. And I'm going to run this by you, just simply so when I sit down with O'Connell later today and do the pregame bit for KFAN that runs right before the game, I just want to make sure I'm not missing something super obvious here. Because he had his offense, first, second, Jaron Hall, whole thing.
Yeah.
And he had his offense going right into the 20-mile-per-hour wind the entire practice. And, throwing that way at times was virtually impossible. It was almost beyond, got to push through adversity. Might be windy at Soldier Field one day. Might be windy at Lamp. It was ridiculous trying to get something done. Then on the other field, the Titans with next level Tanny and Malik Willis and Will Levis, well, they had the wind at their backs the whole practice.
Yeah.
How masochistic can you be?
But that's what training camp's supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a challenge. It's supposed to be tough. It's supposed to harden you guys as players mentally, emotionally, and physically. So I would guess that was very much intentional, and it was very much intentional to do it the whole practice with this offense. And yeah, make it hard for them, and see how they respond and see how they bounce back, and see even as a play caller, you need those reps too. Because you need to see, you have these ideas with every play and before every game, okay, I've got this big sheet and this play is going to work and we are killing this play in practice. We're going to run this play, and then you get out to run that play and for some reason it just doesn't execute, or the defense figure out. You have to adjust too as a play caller. So you might have some plays dialed up and you're like, okay, I understand that we maybe can't throw the ball this far in 20-mile-an-hour winds, right against us. So I'll call some short intermediate passes. But what if those intermediate passes are too much affected as well? Then you really have to change your game plan on the fly.
Wow.
So I think it's
I see.
I think it's a lot to do with the players in this situation, but I think even for himself, even for Wes as play callers, and they're kind of looking at different plays and how they're going to play in elements throughout the season, that it's probably a good mental exercise for them as well.
There were some Jaron Hall moments yesterday against the Titans that I really, really enjoyed because it's in watching the practices and the night practices, then the Seattle game. We've seen Jaron have a nice arm. Okay, I ain't going to say he has a hose, but it's not Garoppolo-esque. He can get right hash, left sideline, left hash. He can get there. But what I liked about him yesterday, he was the most poised I've seen him all offseason, with just chilling in the pocket, nice little step up, and then you know what? He just slid and ran. And there was a safety, or was it Azir Al-Shair, or whatever, the former Niner, undersized, super fast, outside linebacker guy. He misjudged Jaron Hall's speed. And I mean, Hall ran away from him like he was tied to a post for about 30. So you being a former linebacker, when not necessarily just with Jaron, but 3rd and 9, no matter the part of the game, 3rd and 9, you got everything all buttoned up and you got everybody covered. And then the freaking quarterback runs for 16. I mean, what kind of a gut punch is that?
It's tough because it really does limit you as a defensive play caller to now think, well, I can't, if I dial up a blitz, it's got to get home. If it doesn't get home, can it be a man coverage because I'm really going to sell my guys out because their back's going to be turned and yada, yada, yada. So I do think that it does manipulate the defense a lot, and it puts a lot of pressure on them as a defensive coordinator on what I can really call in these gotta have it situations, knowing that you have a quarterback that isn't always looking to run. I don't look at Jaron right now as I've got to be a run first type of guy. And I don't think it's, hey, after the first read, I'm going to get skittish and run as well. I think that he has shown a lot of poise in the pocket. And he is willing to go through the passing progressions before he feels like, okay, I can slide around, I can move around. Then I have to break the line of scrimmage and run. Yeah. So I do think that he's showing a bit of patience and balance with his mentality and his progressions that, he wants to be a pass first quarterback, but he also understands that he can threaten you with the run. So as long as I liked what I saw, I know from a yards perspective and a QBR and all this other stuff from this last preseason game, it's not going to wow you, but I'm with you. He didn't look like he was shrinking under the moment. And he
had no chance in the Seattle game. Well, I mean, zero chance.
But did you see him panic? That's the thing. Knowing that his offensive line wasn't doing a great job and he didn't have a lot of time to operate the offense, and a lot of things had to be accelerated, it still didn't look like he was frazzled. I think that's the part of it that I walked away with, like, hey, I think we got something here. We got a guy that seems pretty tough-minded, pretty cool under pressure, and I think that's a large part of playing quarterback is how calm you can be amongst all that chaos.
I wonder if his age, I mean, just the natural maturity of being like 25 years old or whatever his age is. I wonder if that plays into it. I'm not kidding you, man. I watched a lot of him this training camp, and he's not going against Jeffrey Simmons and their one defense, but he was just poised yesterday, and I'm looking forward to watching him on a Saturday against the Tennessee Titans. Now, you and Pete Bursich have you're just salivating, rhapsodizing, quasi-obsessed with Ivan Pace Jr. I mean, it just made you smile right now. Well, he won the day again yesterday. I mean, he put a hit on Derrick Henry yesterday. Holy cow. You put 2 hits like that on Derrick Henry, and everybody is fighting. I mean, seriously, it was that kind of a hit, and Derrick popped up, kind of smiled, and was like nodded his head, and it's like, okay, well, this is thud. That was a hit. You do that again.
It was a thud. It's a thud.
It's a thud, but you do it again to King Henry. Yeah. I mean, they got this Tyjon or whatever, this backup running back bit they just love. You can go ahead and hit him twice. You do that twice to the King, both fields empty and the stand's empty, and it's nasty. So that was eye-opening to me, how Pace is just begging to hit. Now, I'm just wondering, can he cover the pass? Okay, and why I was excited to bring this up to you is I haven't watched him. I can't recall him covering one pass in training camp or anything that I'm sure he has. Anything that's jumped out at me where I'm like, whoa, look at that drop, look at that Leber-esque drop in the Tampa 2. Because let's not forget, we had an undrafted linebacker from Cincinnati, the Bearcats, named Eric Wilson. And every time Eric got an opportunity to play, he had 7 or 8 tackles, he forced fumbles, he batted balls at the line of scrimmage, but then all of a sudden, Darren Waller would be 10 yards behind him in the pass coverage 5 times. And it's like, all right, Eric's good. Well, he can't cover the pass. Just wondering, I just hope that's not the case with number 40.
No, I think that's the biggest question mark. He's answered everything else 100 times over at this point. So much so where they green dot him as the linebacker, as a player on defense. That's getting the play calls through the speakers and the helmets. That's disseminating all that information, making the adjustments. So from a guy that has proven it physically that he can get downhill, he can show his instincts. Again, kind of like Jaron Hall, these moments aren't too big for him. And he's picked up this defense, which I got to say, even from my perspective, what an advantage it is for him to come in as a rookie and learn a defense that at the same tempo as everybody else.
Yeah.
He's not trying to pick up from years of Mike Zimmer, guys being on Mike Zimmer's defense. It's such a benefit, and that's the way it was for me. It was
blank slate for all.
I got really lucky that I walked into San Diego with Schottenheimer's new defense, and everybody had to learn together. Like, we were all doing the first day install together. I wasn't trying to rapidly catch up. So he's parlayed that into being a green dot guy on the first team. As an undrafted rookie, it's unbelievable. I would say this: there's a question mark between you and I. I think there's a question mark between the public that hasn't seen him, and even maybe some people even within the organization. But if you're going to get first team reps and you're going to be a green dot guy, I think he's answered enough questions.
They know it's there.
There's enough questions answered in the passing game that they're like, he's not. He may need some improvement, and there may be some development there. But is he a liability to the point where we can't have him on the field? Absolutely not.
Okay, now green dot being the player where the play comes into that individual and they disseminate it to the defense. Correct.
Correct.
Okay, so if he's with the one defense because Asamoah continues to be on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field and won't play again this weekend, if I'm Jordan Hicks and I'm in there with him. Am I not offended, but am I wondering why I'm not the green dot guy?
Not necessarily. And again, I'll use my experience. Look, Chad Greenway. Until he was really, really asked to the last year and a half, 2 years of his career, he flat out would tell me, I don't want to be the green dot guy. His best strengths, and that's the one thing that Chad really knew his strengths and weaknesses. He's like, I don't want to be bogged down by some of this information. Like, I want to go out there and make plays and be free and whatever. I don't want that responsibility. Now, he ended up embracing it and enjoying it when he had to do it. And, we had conversations about it after the fact. And he's like, yeah, I guess, it was kind of nice to have a second or two to process the information before everybody else got the call. And it does put a little bit more on your plate. To make all the audibles, you have to be you are the quarterback of the defense, so it is a little bit more. But some guys just want to go out there and have a free mind, and go out there and let their instincts take over, and not feel like they have to watch every single movement, every single shift in motion, and then have to think about what everybody else has to do. They just want to do what the people around them are doing, and they have to know where they have to go.
This is Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter. Please follow him as 9 to Noon does, and watch him on television today with Elizabeth Reese, who will be in the Power Trip tomorrow, taking on Tommy and Tommy Olson and .com Tom and Aaron Gleeman and Tatum Everett, I believe, is there with the initials at 8:15. It's quarterfinals round 4, I believe. That'll be super cool. But Twin Cities Live, channel 5, 3 to 4:30 today. featuring our guy Nacho. Now the football snob in you, you know who he is. You remember him from the pandemic year, but you're just spend 15 minutes watching Jeffrey Simmons. I mean it's first. I mean, like when I saw him yesterday in individual drills against offensive linemen, he was doing things to get around them where he was almost laughing. And it's not laughing because, like, you're awful, backup offensive lineman guy. No, it's just because of his joy. He has joy for the game. So then they go to the other field, and it's ones versus ones. And, I mean, he just what he was doing to certain members of the interior of this offensive line at times should be felonious in 48 states. There could have been 5 or 6 sacks. And so just spend 5 minutes. Like, I had 3 technique envy to start. I was a little pissed off. And then I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and appreciate 98's game. I mean, you got Aaron Donald, you got Quinnen Williams, you got Dexter Lawrence. This guy's different than them. He's smaller, maybe faster, don't know, but he's in that group. And it causes me to hearken that a 3 technique defensive tackle like that truly is the new quarterback in the draft. I mean, you really have to have one of these guys, and we don't.
Well, I know. And look what, Philadelphia is just, they were overjoyed that they were able to get the defensive tackle out of Georgia, where they got him. And I know that there was a little bit of red flags with all of his, his traffic violation and the street racing and all this other stuff. But that is the type of guy that it would be really difficult, if you're a team next year's draft that has a high end pick, and you may need that franchise quarterback, but man, oh man, if you can find a game-changing potential Hall of Fame 3 technique or defensive lineman, it's about as important as the quarterback position. Yeah. And when you find one of those guys, you understand how much they wreck the game and how much the offense has to change their game plan. When you face a guy like Simmons, the week of preparation, Aaron Donald, same thing. Even look at TJ Watt now, in the Bosa guys. Like, when you get one of these premier guys on the defensive line, whether it's an edge guy, you design everything around stopping that guy. Yeah. Everything. Right. And if you can wreck the game from a 3 technique, think really
about
limits what you can do.
The last time we won a playoff game, Zimmer won the game by Everson Griffin and Daniil Hunter playing 3 technique under the cover of darkness. They'd never done it. They'd been working on it, from what I understand, up to the playoffs a little bit, full throttle week of the playoffs. But that just right there just proves that things like that will wreck games. A Kirk Cousins press conference is coming up very soon. This is Ben Leber, and I'm Paul Allen. Did you happen to catch any of Green Bay's Cincinnati preseason game?
No.
Okay, well, they had, it was strange to me. They had 2 joint practices with Cincinnati, and they were physical as bleep, if you read the stories and stuff like that. So then they had a game at Cincinnati against the Bengals. LaFleur, outside of Bakhtiari, rolls out all of his ones. Every single one. Watson, Dobbs, Musgrave, every offensive lineman save the former Colorado Buffalo, Aaron Jones, Dillon, the dogs, and Jordan Love. And it was an indicator to me that this is not an affront or a slight on the Packers. Love's new, and they got young receivers. I understand. And a dominating presence has left who was completely in control of that huddle. But he played him, he played him a fair amount and off the joints, which generally does not happen. I'm just wondering if Jordan Love has a swivel. And LaFleur's plays are going to be very good, very crafty. First 3 games of the season, we're going to give that to you, Jordan, with this one read stuff. It was all one read stuff. Mm-hmm. I just wonder, do you remember if he has a swivel? Does he look around the field? Because he didn't at all from what I was watching on Friday night.
I think he has it too. If I remember right, when he's gotten into games, he does try to, those are different in-season game plans and stuff like that are designed for Aaron Rodgers. And, you can't completely change everything. He has tried to be that progression head on a swivel quarterback. I just think that he hasn't gotten the reps. I think it's smart, and I get it that the Green Bay Packers are a huge talking point with Jordan Love taking over, and it's the what if game, and how are they going to do here, and how are they going to do here, and what's his strengths and weaknesses, where is he at developmentally. I know it's a big story, but I think everybody's making too big a deal out. They keep showing this highlight where, he throws the ball deep, it almost gets intercepted by the safety, and to your point, if the game plan from a pass progression standpoint was very vanilla, it's not like he was looking off the safety on the right-hand side offensively, looking at 1, 2, and then, I got to remember I got this X receiver that's running this vertical on the backside where I manipulated the safety. That safety had a jump on him from the very beginning. Like, I don't know if, I'm not even sure Aaron Rodgers would have completed that pass. If it was the same way, in the same setup, where it was straight drop, he doesn't move the safety at all. The safety knows right now I'm going to just go take this deep guy. Mm-hmm. If you lead him too much, it's outstretched arms of the wide receiver. I don't know. Everybody's being like, can he throw this deep ball? And they're like trying to take this one play and really break it down and say like, man, he's just not where he needs to be. I'm like, you got to give him a chance in the actual offense.
Got it.
On a play like that in the course of a game where the safety is not reading your eyes the whole time.
Yep.
Then I think that could be a complete ball into a different narrative.
Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins is going to be speaking to the media, subsequently the fans. And Ben Leber, you're welcome to listen to the press conference. Stick around after, or I will see you out of practice today. Thank you, my brother.
Sounds great. See you then.
And conditions apply.
KFAN.
Hey, Kirk Cousins talking to the
Saturday,
media.
obviously, starters not necessarily expecting to play, but I think it's important to go through that dress rehearsal. And there are so many young players on our team who haven't played in U.S. Bank before, and I think it's important that they, get this experience. And it's really important and fun to get in front of our fans again. It's been a long time since we last had a home game there, so. Looking forward to that opportunity. But take any questions yet.
Hey, Kirk, in the past you've talked about the difficulty of simulating pass rush in these practices.
Yeah.
Is it easier with another team in here and the intensity level?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you do maybe go a little bit more intensely because, there's a little bit of, I really got to protect my own teammate when we're practicing against each other. And while you're still going to play smart and practice like an NFL player, I think there's a little bit more of, this isn't my teammate, so I'm going to go a little harder. Within reason. So you probably feel that a little bit. And to your point, it's tough. We had a guy get through the line or get through the block the other day, and I checked it down to Alex, and I said to Chris O'Hara, I said, should I just kind of let him run by me and get the read down the field and kind of use the red jersey to my advantage to kind of extend the play, or should I treat it like I'm not in a red jersey and check it down? And that's kind of the debate you have on these plays is what way is it better to play it? And we made the point that, we want to treat these practices as close to the real thing as we can. So better to just act like you don't have the red jersey. And if it's a sack, it's a sack. If you can throw it away, throw it away. So I try to practice like that as best I can.
Kirk, how do you feel right now about your running back room, both with Alex as a starter and in terms of depth?
I feel really good about it. Alex is tremendous. He's already in his fifth. We've played 5 years now together, coming up on our 5th year, which is exciting. And CJ Ham just continues to just be a tremendous player for us, what he's been able to do. Ty Chandler, I thought, was outstanding in our preseason game and will continue to be. He showed it last year before he got hurt. And always know what Kane can do, and he's dangerous with the football in his hands. So feel really good about that room.
Kirk, I know yesterday Kevin was talking about when Justin is out there now with these teams, he wants to see more pre-snap decisions and things like that because we already know what he can do. What do you see out there in these things with your relationship with Justin?
Yeah, he's going to continue to be who he's been, and Kevin's going to keep giving him more of a route tree, more chances to read plays after the snap. Am I breaking in? Am I breaking out? Am I sitting down? Kind of give him more choices, more options post-snap. And there will always be an awareness of how our team's defending him. And even if they're playing him like a heavy Justin coverage on this play, on the next snap, maybe they aren't. They may just treat him like he's another guy and just try to create variety. So just always being aware of the coverages and how much Justin might be dictating the coverages for us, and then reacting accordingly will be something we'll be dealing with all season long, snap in and snap out. But we'll always have good discussion of, hey, I liked your angle on this route. I should have put the ball further. Or what do you think if I put more air on it? Or how do you feel if I give you this signal and you run a fade instead of the other route? And so we'll just kind of keep building these iterations of it and start together to kind of learn where all the bones are buried the longer we play together.
What have you thought of Tristan Jackson's development, just watching him over this last year-ish?
Yeah. Tristan's done a great job. He continues to show up and make plays. We know what he can do, too. Like in a preseason game, he's one of those guys you really trust because you feel like he's going to get lined up. He's going to know his depth. He's going to run the right route. He's going to be disciplined. So he's been in this league long enough to feel like you really know that you can trust him. And, we just want to see him continue to be really strong at the catch point. And if he can do that, I think he can be a really great player in this league.
What's the Brian Flores experience been like for you in terms of being on the other side, trying to get ready for the season, knowing you may or may not really see that? But does it make you better? Is it harder? Do you notice a difference when then you see the Titans for a couple days here? Yeah, training camp knew it was going to be tough. When he got hired, someone texted me to say, you guys hired Coach Flores, and I texted back, training camp's going to get tough. So it's a balance, and I think the Titans probably deal with it too of, if you were playing him for that week, you would run a very different offense, a very different system, have a very different plan to handle the challenges he's throwing at you. But if you just prepare to play him, are you really getting ready for the Buccaneers week 1 and the rest of your schedule? And so we've kind of had to live in that world of we're going to call the plays that we're going to need for the season that are going to make life very difficult against his scheme. And we've just got to do our best to find the answers that are there, even if it's a tough answer. And so that's the world we're living in. And it makes us better in the long run, I think. It also can lead to some tense conversations and meetings at night with coaches where you feel like, I don't like this answer. I don't like that. You have to kind of have the big picture in mind. And I think all in all, it's been good for our development as a player and as an offense. This sounds simple, but are you running your plays that aren't going to work against that scheme knowingly, basically?
I would say we're calling plays that if they get in certain looks, I'm kind of palms up in the coaches like, what do you want me to do here? You didn't give me as many tools in the tool belt that I'd like to have. But that being said, we started to do, going back to phase 2, phase 3 of OTAs is let's add some tools to the tool belt. And if they do this, do this. If they do that, do that. Obviously, the play clock can be a challenge to handle all that. But you start to build this menu of, all right, I'm in this formation. I've got these 4 options. I can get to this if they give me that look. And if they check out of it, I'll get to this. And it kind of becomes who holds the pen last between me and Jordan Hicks or me and Harrison Smith as to, what the play clock's doing. But there's some times where, and Gary Kubiak used to always say this, and I believe in it wholeheartedly, when we would play like a Steve Spagnuolo who will pressure you a lot, he'd say, he can win the play, don't let him win the game. And so, if I get a free runner and we didn't quite get the protection targeted correctly before the snap, that's fine. You win that down. I'm throwing it in the dirt, but I'm not going to let you win the game. I'm not going to have a sack fumble. I'm not going to throw a pick. I'm not going to do that thing that you'll look back and say that's why we lost. So there's a little bit of practice where I got to let Flo from time to time win the play or even win the series, but I can't let him win the game, if you will. But believe me, there have been a few practices I've come in and I say, I don't think we won that practice. I think Flo won that practice. So it's a good challenge.
That'll make finding the answers in a game easier?
That's the conversation is, when we get those unscouted looks week 5, do you have a little bit more inventory built up that could help you? And I think that's the benefit of going against difficult looks and a variety of looks and making you have these conversations now is that when you have something you haven't talked about, you can refer back to these moments.
I wanted to ask you about the quarterback sneak. You haven't done a ton of it in your career, but last year the Eagles really revolutionized the play and showed how much success you can have with that, turning your offense into 4-down offense essentially. So I wanted to know how you feel about doing more quarterback sneaks, where the push sneak in particular. Is that something you would be interested in? And as a quarterback, how can you prepare to be better at that? Can you do more squats, or what's the training like? And what are your thoughts on that?
I think certainly it's sometimes about the look you get. So if I get double 3 techniques, the mic's at depth, we're in an empty formation, they're not expecting a sneak, you can maybe run up there and get one in. obviously in the 4th and 1 moments, they're not going to be in that look. But the push sneak, I would think the push is probably more important than the sneak. So if you get, the right amount of force going with you, I think that'll make up for any lack of squatting you've done. I'm trying to understand how legal that is and how they're going to officiate that, because you go back to the Bush push, with USC and Notre Dame, and kind of always saying, hey, that's technically illegal, but it didn't get called. And I'm kind of wondering at what point do they have to call something, and at what point do they just let it be? I don't know. But I think as long as 11 or 10 other guys can push you forward, I think that's pretty good play.
Are you gonna try it this season, do you think?
You have to ask Kevin. He's the one calling it, and I'm the one that, we say, you call it, I ball it. It's kind of how we say.
What are your initial impressions of the Titans defense after yesterday?
They did a great job. They were number 1 against the run last year for a reason, and I thought they did a nice job in man coverage. So I thought it was a tough test for us and great work for us.
Running for his defense every day. How have you seen, I guess, the players on that side of the ball adopt some of the identity that he seems to bring to it, just as a cultural piece of it?
I think it's been a great fit. I think the players have enjoyed playing in the scheme. I think they've enjoyed collaborating with it. Flo has given Harry and Jordan at times the ability to call plays in different 2-minute drills and things, and I think the guys love that. And so I think they feel they can play aggressive. And, one of the challenges I've issued to the team is, offense, if we want to be a great offense, which is where we want to set our standard, we got to get up on people early, which then allows this defense to do what they want to do. And so it's very important that, hey, we can help our defense as an offense by starting games fast and putting them in a position of power. So that's where you talk about complementary football and team football. Is I want to be a part of our defense being really good because of the way that we play, to start games and to give our defense a cushion and an ability to go hunt in a way that maybe they otherwise couldn't.
What was the talk yesterday after seeing the Titans defense for the first time, knowing that you're going to go out there against them? Like, what kind of adjustments? Do you make adjustments in a joint practice? What is that like?
Yes and no. I think you watch the film and you talk through it as you do against our defense with Coach Flores. You're making adjustments every day, trying to get better and fine-tune it. So that's always going to happen. I think you're also in some ways, you're wanting to make life tough because you want to get the work. And so, like, a couple of times, Coach has said to me, hey, what play do you want on 3rd down? And I say, well, do you want to win the play or do you want to get ready for week 1? Because there's some plays that I need work at that I may not say are my favorite right now, but I need the work. But if you want to win the play, I'll give you a play I already know and don't really need to practice, and then we can win that play. So it goes back and forth of, hey, is this practice or is this we're trying to win the play or the series or the practice? And you're trying to find that balance, but you're always competing. And I think it was a great first day, and we need to have another one today.
With that said, would you prefer to play in a preseason game to get that experience or have the joint practice?
Yeah, I'd probably want both. I think to be able to practice against them is very valuable. I would never trade that. And I think take the red jersey off and go play the real thing is also valuable, especially when you talk about the backdrop of a stadium and crowd noise and just all that a game is that this just doesn't simulate. But obviously understand the logic behind not doing that, and you got to be ready regardless of the amount of time you get, and you got to get the most out of every practice rep you get. Okay, thank you.
That was Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins addressing the media ahead of day 2 of joint practices with the Tennessee Titans, which should get started around noon. But in the meantime, PA is live from TCO facilities, and there's still plenty of show to go, including a conversation with Titans Vox Mike Keith around the top of the hour. So stay tuned. 9 to noon, we'll be back right here on KFAN. The kids call
on the Fan.
Want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
When it feels like the world is on your shoulders and all of the madness has got you going crazy, it's time to get out. Step out into the street where all of the action is right there at your feet. Well, I know a place where we can dance the whole night away underneath the electric stars. Just come with me and we can shake your blues right away. You'll be doing fine once the music starts.
And welcome back to the radio studio at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. A very special guest set to join us about 10 minutes from now. Mike Keith, the play-by-play voice for the Tennessee Titans. He's going to come up for a couple of elongated segments here from the Vikings Entertainment Network radio studio. Meanwhile, our beloved Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter and Twin Cities Live co-host 3 to 4:30 today on Channel 5 for a few more minutes. And off that Kirk Cousins press conference, Kirk is so calculated and he's so detailed with the way he explains things. It's, I'm not fear guy, so therefore I'm going to let it play out during the course of the season with the Buccaneers all the way through the Motor City Kitties at the end. But it cannot be disputed. The majority of practices that we have seen or we've learned about or gotten some background from the right people, the defense for the Minnesota Vikings has done quite well this training camp run. And then now yesterday, granted, for whatever the reason, the masochistic head coach has our offense going into the wind, and Tanny and Malik Willis and Will Levis with the wind at their backs. Yeah, we understand it's it's a tough game out there, guys. You got to fight through adversity and the whole thing. But again, defense kind of dictated the tempo against our offense, and that's just become a common refrain this entire preseason. And how do you get your way through that?
I would say this though, right? Is in my experience, and you've seen this too. Always in camp, the defense is faster. They pick up everything better. They play with more instincts than the offense. The offense is it's a slow build of building blocks upon building blocks to try to get the offense to play fast by week one. Mm-hmm. On defense, it's like, all right, boys, like, and I understand that, our defense is putting together something new. I understand that we blitzed a bunch, yesterday. We really brought the heat, which was good to see, because if we're going to be that attacking style defense, we've given our offense some fits during OTAs and offseason and the early parts of training camp, but
we got that nutshell of the boom or bust too, where you may have 6 sacks games, but then you're going to have a couple of busts where you get Burks and somebody else behind Bynum, and that's going to happen.
Well, look at Detroit.
Oh yeah, Jamison Williams.
Well, look at Detroit and what they did with their defense in the first half of the season. They brought an attacking style of defense. Everybody loved what they were doing. Mm-hmm. It's just that they weren't executing that well. They weren't always getting, not all their pressures and blitzes weren't always getting there. That's why at the end of the season, they end up as the worst defense in the NFL. But why is everybody on their jock right now? It's because they won 8 of the last 10 games. Yep. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, stopped blitzing so much. Yep. He disguised more. He did a lot more window dressing with his pressures and his pre-snap looks. So then it made his defense much more effective. But they had to dig themselves statistically out of this gigantic hole. So yes, it's the same thing as, like, look, you're a huge NBA guy. If you're a team that you can pop a lot of threes, you live by the 3, you die by the 3. Yeah. You go down and you have an off game, you're going to get your butts blown out. Yeah. Because all you can do is shoot threes and you're cold. Mm-hmm. But the days that you hit and you win and you're knocking down those threes, well, then nobody can stop you.
Last one, and it's in the vein of the hardcore variety, like Ivan Pace and the thumping, and he's ballyhooed, and there's a lot of hype behind the undrafted Cincinnati kid, and that's good. But again, are we sure he can cover the pass? And that will bear its fruit as we move on. On the other side of it, with Madison and Ty Chandler, that's going to be the 1-2. It's really starting to separate itself. With no Dalvin Cook, specifically early in the season, do you think the play action has merit? I mean, it's like, because Cousins, he ain't Matt Ryan-esque. He's not going to completely turn his back to the defense, but he's quite good with the play action. Well, I mean, are they going to bite the safeties and the linebackers on Madison and or Chandler the way they did Dalvin?
I think that's a legitimate question, and I would say that the running game has to prove itself. Mm-hmm. Of course, the first couple of games, defense is just going to be teed up. Linebackers going to be teed up. They're going to be on the toes the whole time. They want to get downhill. They want to hit people. So there's going to just early excitement for the season. So it might work a little bit, but maybe not in the way that you want it to work. But we all know with Alexander Madison, he's a downhill guy. So if the offensive line can find him some holes, can build him some holes, and he can find those creases, and he can get downhill. Okay. Within a couple runs, and you put it on tape, if he's smacking linebackers, 5-6 yards past the line of scrimmage before they get first contact, absolutely play action will start working.
My man, we will watch you on television today at 3:00. I'll see you out at joint practice number 2 a little late. Thank you very much for the contribution.
All right. Love it, man. See you then.
Love you. Ben Leber at Nacho Leber via Twitter. When 9 to noon continues, we have a very special broadcasting covenant that's going to take place from Eagan, Minnesota, and the Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center on your home for Minnesota Vikings football, FM 100.3.